day 3 of GameSpot's live E3 2010 coverage. It's the last game of the show. We're all a little bit exhausted, slightly worse for the wear, but we're excited. There's a lot of fun stuff going on, and we're enjoying the show a lot. I've currently got Darren Hedges from Propaganda here at my side, and he's here to show us Tron Evolution. Darren, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
So, Tron Evolution, what is this game all about?
So, Tron Evolution is basically set between 1982 and 2010, and we tell the series a series of sort of seismic events that happen in the universe during our time phase. And we sat down with the filmmakers when we first started Tron and said, you know what, guys, Legacy, you've got your story that you want to tell over here. How do we create something within the mythology that actually enhances the story narrative that you're trying to tell? And there's a lot of moments in Tron Evolution where you'll go and see the movie and go, oh my God, that's, I did that, that was me.
All right, Darren, let's apply some visual aids to that description here, because we've actually got the game going on. So describe what's happening in this demo.
So right now we're just moving through the first tutorial section, chasing a program named Cora. And Cora is played by Olivia Wilde, who reprises her role for the video game. She also plays the role of Cora in the movie. And this is our intro tutorial level where we're really teaching you about our new system called High Mobility Combat. And High Mobility Combat is a blend of the movement form of parkour and the Brazilian martial arts of capoeira. And what this allows us to do is have a very seamless movement, a very accessible movement for consumers around the world. So as you can see here, we're jumping seamlessly, we're rolling around the world. We can wall run at any point in time, we can jump at any point in time, and it just means that when we're playing, you're pretty much not restricted to the path that we want you to follow. You have the ability to move around the world. As we move forward into the next part of the area, this comes into our first combat zone. And at this point, you're chasing a virus named Abraxas. And Abraxas is the main bad guy of our story.
Right.
As any good virus, he actually leaves a wake of destruction.
Of course.
Wherever he is. You couldn't have a virus without having a wake of destruction.
I've had many viruses on my PCs before. I know all about it.
So what you see in the world is not only environmental destruction that he leaves, but also infection of other programs in the world. And this allows us to actually create a much wider narrative with the programs in the universe, because you're not only fighting standard bad guys, you're also fighting these infected programs that get progressively larger and more aggressive as you go through the game.
All right. Now, back on the subject of the parkour and the movement for a second, what does the sci-fi, the futuristic elements add to your ability to move throughout this world? Because I imagine in the future you've probably got the ability to launch all over the place and not just run using your arms and legs, right?
Yeah. So we're trying to keep the game fairly based in real-world physics. The game takes place in the narrative of Kevin Flynn's utopian vision,
right,
for the new Tron universe. So in the 1982 version of Tron, it was really almost an accidental mistake that he got into this world. In the new world of Tron, he's tried to envisage what the world would look like in a computer.
Okay.
And unfortunately for Kevin, a series of events have transpired that have really perverted his vision to what you're seeing in the video game. And as part of that perversion, he creates you a character known as Anon, short for Anonymous.
Oh.
We want you to be you, we don't want to give you a moniker. And you're created as a new breed of system monitor to go into the universe and try and figure out for Kevin what's behind these anomalies and the Abraxas virus. So as we come into this particular combat area, John's fighting the sentries and the infected. And part of our high mobility combat system is a nodal-based combat system, which is really three-part. The first part of it is a sprint mode, which allows us to move around the world really, really quickly. The second part is a normal mode where you're more combo-based. And the third part is very defensive. So at this point, you have a much wider area of effect. One of the things you just saw there was a pop-up for our player progression system. So one of the key features in the game is our persistent character progression.
Okay, like upgrades and things like that?
Yeah, so it's a little bit more unique than that. But what we have is, as you're playing through the game, you basically level up as you do in any good game. What the cool thing is about Tron is that we have multiplayer events that are littered throughout the world. And what this means is if you hit one of these events, we seamlessly take you from your single player story mode into a game grid multiplayer event where you might say level up your character from, like, say, level 5 to level 7. You might gain a new light disc ability, and we take those abilities and upgrades from that multiplayer event back into your single player story mode, and you continue exactly where you left off. So from that perspective, it gives the players of the game a lot of width to actually play the game the way that they want, to actually see and feel the game the way that they want. So here John's dispatching a number of sentries, and I mentioned earlier that we'd worked really closely with the filmmakers and theatrical group on our story, and that includes the character design, the world design. We shared assets from day one with them. Oh. So everything that you see in the Tron Evolution video game is taken from some assets that were generated for the Legacy, especially in the Tron City areas. We have a number of unique areas, though, that you won't be seeing in the Tron Legacy movie at the end of this year. And they form the basis of the series of seismic events that happen in the universe that really bring the Kevin Flynn's utopian vision down to the dystopian vision that you see in the upcoming movie. A really great example of that is actually the Sentry Scouts that have just entered the room here. In the Legacy movie, they have standard sentries, which you saw in 1982. They've been re-envisaged for the movie. We have a few variants of sentries in the game. Obviously, when you're creating a 2-hour narrative of a film, you can be fairly picky with the characters that you want and really concentrate on those. When you have a 10 to 12 hour narrative for the game, we need to broaden the perspective a little bit. So we sat down with them, and they were very accommodating in helping us broaden that mythology, but still keep true to the franchise itself. So here John's just going through and basically dispatching these guys using the nodal-based system. In this part, it's kind of hard to see what he's doing. There we go. He's doing defensive mode. In defense, he can actually deflect attacks and also parry attacks. He can also dive out of the way. His area of effect, though, when he uses his special weapon, which he's going to need to just grab some power up for, is actually much more devastating, as you saw there. But he also died. So one of the key things for us is mobility is life. What we don't want to happen is the standard walk into a room and just go toe-to-toe with characters.
Yeah.
If you do that in Tron, you're going to get de-resed pretty quickly. So we came up with the mobility system where you have the health wall bars that you can see in the background there, which you run on to actually gain more health, and then the system of these consoles where you gain more special weapon abilities. And that allows us to keep the player moving within the parkour and capoeira system, and it helps us create a very elaborate combat environment.
Cool. So the combat and the parkour elements, that's not the only part of the game, right? There's also some light cycle stuff as well?
Yep. So no Tron game really would be complete without light cycles. They're such a memorable part of the experience.
I remember when you guys were showing off the game last month at the pre-E3 week down in or here in LA. You guys had one of those Tron light cycles on display down there, and it was kind of insane.
Yeah, we've at the booth this year we brought the light cycle back as well.
Oh yeah.
So it's standing on the booth. But we've also got a couple of other film props with a couple of the major characters' helmets that they wore all lit up on the booth.
Please tell me that light cycle sits in your garage at home when you're not showing it at events.
I so wish that it did. I so wish that it did. It would be such a cool thing to have.
All right, so we've got it going on here. Tell me what's happening, Darren.
So this level is a straight shoot through the city. You're trying to rescue a program named Gibson, who plays a really major role in the story narrative. I can't obviously reveal too much about the story because of the film ties, but here the main protagonist of the piece has realized that you're trying to foil his plans, and is basically throwing everything at you, which includes the sentry light cycles that you see, driving around. The recognizers, which make a return to the Tron universe. And also you'll see a rather large looking ship in the background as we get to the end of the level, which is going to remain unnamed yet, but plays a pretty significant part. One of the cool things about Evolution is that we have 3 different types of light cycle in the game. And as with the persistent character progression, you can upgrade your light cycles as you go through the game, and each upgrade of your light disc has a different effect to your light cycle. So if we would have upgraded the bomb disc, for example, in the single player game, and then at this point you'd see a shield around the front of the light cycle, which would not only have more defensive abilities, but also much more offensive abilities. So if you can imagine hitting another light cycle or a person with a shield enabled, it's pretty much good night.
Yeah, I would imagine. Now, there's a lot of destruction going on here in this on this track.
Yeah, so the main protagonist, as I mentioned, is really, he has to stop you at all accounts. You know a piece of information which could stop his domination of the universe, and really he can't have that happen in any shape, way or form. One of the unique parts of Tron Evolution, and it is unique to the Evolution games, is actually the light tank. And we'll be passing a couple of those in a minute. And you get to play the light tank in both single and multiplayer. And one of the cool things about our multiplayer is actually you can fight either on foot, on the light cycle, or in the light tank with 5 versus 5 maps. So we tried to stay very true to the franchise where the multiplayer was concerned, and have that 5 versus 5 ability. So here's...
oh yeah, go ahead.
So here as we just nip round the corner, you'll start to see the light tanks in action. And these guys are just pounding the living daylights out of the area, making sure, or trying to make sure, that you're not going to get to your objective. And in a second, you'll see the huge airship that I mentioned in the background, and that's going to launch a barrage of attacks just to end off the level. Here we go. Slow motion.
Now, unfortunately, we don't actually have our laptop up and running to take audience questions. Oh, wait, we do. Let's see here. Now, pretty much the most common audience question that we get invariably involves multiplayer. Do you guys have plans for multiplayer with Tron Evolution?
Yeah, we certainly do have plans for multiplayer. We have various maps and various game modes, which we're going to be talking about a little bit down the road. But we do have 5 versus 5 multiplayer, and the persistent character progression feeds directly into the multiplayer.
Let's see. Don't actually have the audience questions at my disposal right now. Unfortunately, it's still not working. Let's talk about platforms. What platforms is the game out on?
So Tron Evolution is going to be coming out on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC. And with the PlayStation 3, we're supporting 3D and also Sony Move.
Okay. Now, the game already has like such stark graphics with the light popping out like that. I imagine that the 3D is probably a pretty heavy effect.
Yeah, the 3D, actually, we've had to do a lot of work on the VFX side of things to make sure that the VFX pop as you're going through the game. So we've actually done a lot of work on the particle effects to make sure that effect of, we want people to be ducking and weaving as light discs fly towards you and as bombshells go off. It's been a very interesting working relationship with Sony and our theatrical partners.
So very last question I've got for you, Darren. As usual, when is Tron Evolution going to be out in stores?
So Tron Evolution will be out in the stores fall this year, just shortly before the release of Tron Legacy.
Cool. All right, Darren, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
So guys, that is just about going to do it for Tron Evolution. Now we're going to go check out what's happening on the show floor day 3. Let's go check out some PC hardware right now.